From our 22 News Broadcast Center, this is 22 News in Focus.
Good Sunday afternoon. Welcome to 22 News in Focus. I'm Ryan Walsh. Laura Hutchinson will be back next week. The Big E, the fifth largest fair in America, returns to West Springfield in less than 3 weeks. The fair broke its all-time attendance record last year. This year and in the near future, the folks at the Eastern States Exposition will have to deal with some new challenges. That's where 22 News in Focus comes in. Today, we'll talk to the president and CEO of the Eastern States Exposition about those challenges the fair faces and what the future holds. Then later, we'll continue our conversation with the Big E's marketing director about this year's special features. Let's begin with Gene Cassidy, president and CEO of the Eastern States Exposition. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. How are you?
So, what do you think it is about the Big E that brings people back year after year?
It's really a simple recipe, and it's family tradition. You know, we provide an environment for people to have good, healthy family time together, and young folks build memories with their parents, and then grandparents wind up bringing the next generations, and really that's what the Eastern States represents. I think Americana, good family values, and that's a popular topic.
Living in West Springfield, we're used to the traffic for the 17 days, but this year a different animal, the I-91 construction. Have you had any conversations with Mass DOT about possibly altering any of their construction plans?
Sure. Well, not so much altering. They've assured us that they won't interrupt the flow of traffic in the 2016 fair, and certainly we're very grateful. I'm sorry, the 2015 fair. We're very grateful for that. But for 2016, it will absolutely be a factor. There's no question about it. And you know, we've had some great dialogue with DOT, other businesses. Our hope is through the use of social media and traditional media. People in the future will be, you know, by the time the fair opens in 2016, they will have had an opportunity to be exposed to the traffic stall, if you will.
We may be used to it by then.
Right, and I think that will bode well for people being able to build a way around it to get to the fair. Obviously, it's a huge concern of ours, and I think it should be for all businesses in Greater Springfield. But you know, we'll have to batten down the hatches for a couple of years, and I suspect that once it's done, we'll all be very grateful for it.
At any large event like the Big E, where we can see more than 100,000 visitors in a day, security can be a concern. From movie theaters to sporting events, there are some new precautions being put into place. Now, how does your staff approach this?
Well, you know, we've got the Eastern States and the town of West Springfield's police department have been really very closely connected since the very first fair. As I understand the history of the evolution of the police department of West Springfield, the auxiliary police were an offshoot of Westside PD for the first fair in 1916. So we've got a great relationship, and the town has made some terrific and progressive updates to the way policing is managed for the whole community in general, but also during the fair. And on top of that, the Eastern States has a staff of fair patron services employees who are very closely connected to the police on the grounds, and you know, we have a good environment where people they tend to be respectful and mindful of each other, and so in as much as security certainly is paramount in my mind, as well as Chief Campetrani's mind in West Springfield, I think we've got a good recipe for people's, you know, security and sense of well-being on the grounds.
At Patriots games now, you have to bring in items in a clear plastic bag. Is there anything the organizers of the fair, the Westside PD, are doing that a visitor may notice when they come through the gates this year?
Sure. The Eastern States, for years, you know, we have a stated policy, and at each of our entrance gates, there are certain items, of course, that are banned. You know, all of the usual casts of subjects that you might think. We also do conduct bag searches to make sure that the contraband isn't coming into the fairgrounds. West Springfield Police is in close proximity to our staff that performs that, and you know, frankly, we've never really been challenged. You know, it's something that that people like us who are in the business of having that many guests are very cognizant of. But we don't foresee plastic bags being the case. I mean, again, that's an inhibitor for families. Some people, they might bring their lunch with them, for example. So we have a good system that's been very effective that sort of operates under the witness of the police department, and it's been very effective.
3 years from now, MGM Springfield plans to open probably right around the same time the Big E will be going on right then. The State Gaming Commission rejected the Big E's request to be a designated impacted live entertainment venue. How do you feel the casino will eventually impact the fair? Well,
my hope, and I have faith and belief that once the casino gets rolling, I've used the expression "a rising tide lifts all boats." The Eastern States draws nearly 1,500,000 people in 17 days. We draw an additional over 1,200,000 people for events outside of the fair. And I expect that the Eastern States is going to be able to help MGM build its customer base, and I suspect MGM will be interested in helping us expand our customer base too. So I'm very positive about MGM. I think it's going to be a terrific add for our greater economy and the Springfield region at large. So I'm pretty excited, and I know they had to be delayed because of the viaduct, and I think that's understandable. But when it opens, I'm going to have a big smile on my face, and I'm sure that we're going to find a lot of economies for each other.
Any recent talks about working together with MGM?
Well, MGM has been, they've had quite a heavy lift to get to the point that they're at now, and while we haven't had an opportunity to sit down for talks per se, I expect that that those will occur in good due time.
All right, we'll continue our conversation with Gene Cassidy after the break. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Welcome back to 22 News in Focus. We're continuing our conversation with Gene Cassidy, President and CEO of the Eastern States Exposition, about the Eastern States Exposition celebrating 99 years as an agricultural fair and other contributions it has made to the region. Since its beginnings, Eastern States donates annually to the Big E West Springfield Trust Fund. Where does that money go?
So the trust was established in 1994 as a means by which Eastern States could provide a mechanism to support senior projects and youth education. So the trustees are the officials of the town of West Springfield, and it supports a myriad of different undertakings in the school departments for athletics, education, senior center projects. So we're very proud of that. We've contributed nearly $3.5 million to that fund in the past 20 years. It's something we're very proud of. But really, it's a very, very small piece of what Eastern States does overall. I mean, we tend to focus today on sort of dollars and, how much is contributed. But, our purpose as a public charity, that's a very, very small piece of our charitable undertaking.
The ESC is a 501c3 not-for-profit federally designated corporation. What kind of exemptions does that status allow?
So basically, our tax exemption is the same as a church would have. So as a public charity, we have a mission to support, and in our case, our mission most notably is agriculture. But it's interesting, when Eastern States was founded in 1916, it was founded as the Eastern States Agricultural and Industrial Exposition, and the purpose was to create an environment where agriculturists and industrialists would have an opportunity to reach masses of the public and share best practices. Our mission was to drive the regional economy of New England. As time evolved in 1923, Mr. Brooks, he made some structural changes to the organization and recognized that the Eastern States Agricultural and Industrial Exposition was way too big a mouthful. So we shortened it to the Eastern States Exposition. But we have a large impact on our industrial commerce as well throughout New England, and it tends to get less focused because we have so many animals on the fairgrounds. And that seems to be the focus of most people's attention.
Some people think that the ESE doesn't pay taxes to the town. That's not the case.
Oh, that's not the case. No, I understand that the Eastern States is at least the fifth, if not the fourth largest taxpayer in the community of West Springfield. So yes, we do pay real estate taxes. There are certain buildings on our fairgrounds that are tax exempt. For example, the beautiful village that Mrs. Storrow created back in the early 1930s, that's exempt. Not the restaurant and not the carriage house, but the antique buildings are exempt. The state buildings, of course, are exempt. So there are pieces of our property that have exemption, but by and large, like I say, we are the fifth, if not the fourth largest taxpayer to the community.
This is the 99th anniversary of the Big E Fair, correct?
It is.
Next year is the 100th.
The 100th, yeah.
Anything in the works for the centennial?
Sure, we've been, that's sort of a daunting mark on the calendar. When you're the general manager, you got to make sure you do it right for the 100th, because you only have that opportunity once every 100 years. We've been working for about the past 18 months or more, planning for next year's 100th anniversary. Obviously, it's very important to us. It's a time for us to sort of reconnect with our constituents and our stakeholders and those people in our region who are supportive of us, to remind them of the genesis of the Eastern States, how we got started, how we've gotten to where we are, and it's a benchmark now for the next 100 years. What are we going to be for the next 100 years? And Mr. Brooks founded a place that was very forward-thinking, insofar as we talked about the Eastern States being a family tradition. Typically, that might be thought as something retrospective, but we continue to be very forward-thinking today, and I expect, the 100th anniversary will be a great celebratory year for all of us in the community and beyond, and I'm looking forward to that year.
You grew up in West Side?
I did. I am blessed because my office at the Eastern States is less than 2.5 miles from the house I was born and raised in, on Terry Road in Midnight Park.
So the Big E has been part of your life even before you were involved in it.
Yes, it has.
Do you have any favorite foods, favorite exhibits? What kind of sparks you every year?
So, as a kid, of course, my parents were savvy enough to keep me away from the rides. So I didn't know the rides were there, I don't think, until I was at least maybe even in high school. But the Better Living Center has always been a great spot. I've always been one who was interested in entertainment, even as a young person, and the Eastern States has been a mecca for big name entertainment for years, so that's a favorite of mine, something that interests me dramatically. But the Giant Slide, of course. But really,
do you still go on?
I still go on. I go. I'm the guy who you will see go down the Giant Slide in a suit and tie, try to attract some attention, I guess, any way I can get it. But the whole setting of the fair really is an attraction for me, just to see people, meet people. Being from West Springfield and having grown up in the community, it's a place where everybody knows each other.
How do you balance keeping it the same to make people happy going back versus changing it up a little bit to make it different?
Well, that's a great observation, because there are things. We have made steps in years past where we've made some dramatic changes, and you wind up getting complaints from folks because it's changed too much. So, that's a balance that we have to be cognizant of. You need to be, you want to make sure that you bring enough to the younger generation that keeps them interested, and yet you keep the balance so that the people from the generations before also remain sort of, aware and interested in the tradition.
Gene, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure, Ryan. Thank you.
The Big E begins Friday, September 18th and runs through Sunday, October 4th. When we come back, we'll hear from the Big E's marketing director about what's new at this year's fair. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. Today we're talking about the Eastern States Exposition and its contribution to the region. On Friday, September 18th, the Big E will open for its 2015 run. Joining me now to discuss the highlights of this year's fair is Noreen Tassinari, Marketing Director for the Eastern States Exposition. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So what's on tap for entertainment this year?
Oh, it's a fabulous year. We may be 99 years old, but we've got just the biggest and best entertainment. We start with Charlie Daniels and we end with Paris Hilton. And that's on our small stage. If you go to our larger stage, we have Alabama is going to be here, Kansas will be here, a couple of young stars that people on social media, Bridget Mendler and Jacob Whitesides will be here as well. And we're ending with a very interesting thing that we've produced this year called the Collector Car Experience, where we bring car experts Wayne Carini and Michael Brewer, and they'll be analyzing these cars. People can actually apply right now online for their car to have the opportunity to be part of this experience, and that's on the final day of the fair.
You mentioned social media. There's a new app for the Big E?
Yes, launched this week, the Big E app. It's available on iTunes and the Google App Store, and people should download it. We're working on, working a couple of the kinks out, but that's something that when you're on the fairgrounds, you can find your way around. You can create your own sort of schedule of events. You can find out where all of the food is located as well.
It's the 99th anniversary of the fair.
It is.
What is the 99 years of fun?
Well, 99 years of fun, it follows the fun that we've had over the decades. So it's a lot of the things that we've done for good times and past times over the decades. The Rubik's Cube, arcade games. We're in cooperation with the Norman Rockwell Museum, the Connecticut Science Museum. We've got folks from Lego who will be on hand too. And I believe we have some Rubik's Cube experts that will show you how to actually
solve it.
do
I never could.
And part of that exhibit, we're going to be introducing the deep fried martini in our craft cocktail bar brought to us by V1 Vodka.
There always seems to be a new and exciting food for everyone to try this year, every year. Is that the food this year? Is there a few examples you have?
Oh, there are so many foods. I can't even name all of them in one sitting. But deep fried martini, obviously, for the folks over 21. But for the rest of us, there's a turducken sandwich.
Okay.
And it's a turkey and a duck and a chicken all combined together. And we've also got a lot of local folks who are involved with the fair. The White Hut has their, we call it the garbage bowl. So I think it's everything that you like about the White Hut, kind of all in one bowl. We've got some new barbecue, an operation out of Ware that's called, it's got something called the pig bowl and the beef bowl. So you can kind of guess what that's all about. And we've got just a number of excellent things. We've got sangria down at the Italian Pavilion that they'll be introducing as well.
Cream puffs, eclairs, and main potatoes, I'm sure?
Yes, certainly our old favorites. The cream puffs were introduced in 2002, and the big eclairs, everybody's favorites. The Crazy Burger, of course, which is a hamburger on a donut.
Tried it 2 years ago.
It's good. It's good. Maybe split it with someone. And then Frigo's last year was with us and introduced the 1 pound meatball. And that's a favorite. It's a favorite among the staff because we can split it with each other and have a good lunch as well.
What's the Big E hotspot?
The Big E Hotspot is our social media center.
Okay.
So it's a way to sort of engage on a social media level. You can enter some contests. There's a charging bar so you can charge your cell phone, any kind of cell phone, even the older flip phones that some folks may bring to the fair. So it's a way to get social with Eastern States Exposition.
That's perfect. Everyone's running out of battery all the time, I'm sure, walking around there. There's some ways to save money if you purchase tickets for the fair early.
That's true. It's a perfect time of year for our advance tickets, and they're available at Big Y, every Big Y in Western Mass and Connecticut, and purchased online and at our box office as well.
Do you have a favorite event or food or anything from the fair that you always go? I know you're working hard during these 17 days, but is there a spot that you always try to hit?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm walking around the grounds pretty much all day, but I love the village at night and walking up and down the Avenue of States. It just sort of all comes together. And another favorite of mine is the busiest day of the year, which is usually the middle Saturday, being out at Gate 9A, which is our main parking lot, 9,000 cars, and to watch the folks coming through the gates and saying that, we put all this together, we did the marketing, we met with people like you, and people put it on the calendar and come to the fair. Last
year it was probably a sunny day shy of 1.5 million visitors.
Yes.
Do you expect to set a record this year, and how much does weather play a part in that?
Weather is huge. We watch the weather. We're already watching the weather to see what the long term is, and we keep in touch with our weather friends here, that's for sure. But it does play a role, but I think one of the best kept secrets of the fair is come on a cloudy day, a day where there might be some spits of rain. There's so much to do under roof, something like 500,000 square feet of activities just under roof here at the Exposition.
Back to the entertainment for a second, anywhere from Alabama to Paris Hilton. How do you balance keeping the younger generation happy and entertaining the older generation as well?
Well, you definitely need to do that because people have all sorts of needs when it comes to entertainment. So our entertainment department, John Giuliano in particular, he's looking at what's trending and what folks, perhaps baby boomers or older, would like to see. So I think we've done a nice job. We have Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes that are coming. Ace Frehley of Kiss is going to be here as well, and some rock and roll folks that people can come to see.
I asked this to Jean earlier. What, if any, special plans can you reveal for the 100th anniversary next year?
Oh, we've been planning this for years, actually. And we've got, well, actually, there's something that folks can participate in right now. We're having a community breakfast on the 9th of September, 7:30 in the morning. We started that tradition last year, and people can actually just write RSVP at thebige.com or call us at 205-5044 and say, I'd like to be there. It's a free breakfast for the entire community. There'll be some talks. We unveiled our countdown clock. We unveiled our centennial logo, which is a beautiful logo designed for us for the centennial, and give some hints as to what's to come.
You mentioned the hotspot, being able to charge up your cell phone, get on social media, the app. What sort of things will be on the app for visitors to interact with?
Absolutely everything you can imagine. Mostly everything that's located on the fairgrounds will have a pin drop, they call it, so that you can find your way around. If you're looking for, you know, every ice cream vendor on the fairgrounds, you can kind of program that in and find that. I
usually lose my wife at one point during the day, so will you be able to, I guess you can text each other.
You can communicate with each other, but we do have a Lost People Center that we've operated for many, many years in case people become separated.
Is there one thing that you look forward to? Is it opening day? Is it closing day as you put in a lot of work there? Is there one thing you look forward to every year?
Oh, definitely opening day, to see it all come together. And it's Military Appreciation Day as well, so we bring our armed forces and veterans folks in for free on that day, and just to see all the people and wearing their hats commemorating their service, it's a really special time.
Great. Noreen, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, that was Noreen Tassinari, Marketing Director for the Eastern States Exposition, and we'll be right back with our last word. You're watching 22 News in Focus. You're watching 22 News in Focus. The Big E, a Western Massachusetts tradition that stretches across New England. The fair will be dealing with some new challenges now and in the future, but they seem to be tackling those issues head on. The Big E always brings out a who's who of people in Western Massachusetts, and it's like a reunion, as you always seem to run into someone you haven't seen for a while, and it's something we here in Western Massachusetts shouldn't take for granted. That's our program for today. We want to thank our guests for joining us, and thanks to you at home for watching. If you missed any of it, you can watch it in full on our website, wwlp.com. From all of us here at 22 News, we wish you a wonderful Sunday.